It's been a little over 2 years now that we've been living in this house, and this room has been my office where I record all of my videos. And you've all seen this space in a number of different configurations, but I've never really shared like a full reveal or behind the scenes, I guess, look at this actual space. But before we look at what it's all like today, I want to tell a little bit of the story about this particular room and just how it got to this point. So first, we'll go back 2 years when we first moved into this house. I've mentioned it in other videos before, especially around the time that we moved here, but if you're new here or unaware, my parents used to live in this house. The house was built in 2013 for my brother and my parents. It's all one house, but there are basically two sides to it. One side was for my parents, and the other side is for my older brother. My dad then passed away in 2017 from a stroke, and my mom passed in late 2021 from breast cancer. So my family and I moved into this house February 1st, 2022, so that I could be here for my older brother, who is a quadriplegic. This was always the plan. We knew eventually at one point it would be my family and I and my brother, but we didn't really expect it to be so soon. Obviously, the circumstances, we'd do anything to have our parents back, but living here with my brother has just been amazing. But when this house was built, this particular room was just for her. This was her room to do all of her mom things, the scrapbooks she would make, the quilts she would sew, that sort of stuff. All of the years that I grew up watching her, sew quilts and put things like that together on the pool table in our basement, or some fold-out tables, or the dining table, just basically wherever she could squeeze a little bit of space. For her to have a spot like this, even though it was only for a few years, it was just amazing for her to have a spot like this. So when we moved here, I knew this was going to be my office space, and I needed to sort of turn it into a space that was just better set up for me and what I do. The room was, custom set up for her and the kind of things she did. And for me, the work that I do and editing and filming videos, I knew I was going to basically just kind of have to start from scratch. I removed all of the cabinets and countertops in here, which were all in great shape, but I just didn't have the need for it and couldn't have really used it with my stuff in here. Thankfully, we were able to give it all to some friends who were able to use it for a new build since it was all in such good shape, so everything came out pretty easily and nothing went to waste. After that, it was time to patch up the walls, get things ready to paint. The screw holes in the drywall, that was no big deal, but I had a little more mudding and sanding thanks to some of the countertop trim being glued to the wall when it was installed. My mom also had one of these ironing boards that folded up into the wall, which she just thought was the coolest thing ever. So I took that out, cut a few 2x4s and some drywall to cover that up, and put that in place where the ironing board was. Major shout out to Ben DeGrow, also known as Vancouver Carpenter.
Welcome back to Vancouver Carpenter.
All of the quality drywall content on YouTube is through Vancouver Carpenter. I've hung quite a bit of drywall in my day, but I have always learned plenty of new things from Ben's videos. After lots and lots of mudding and sanding, I finally got this room painted with a fresh coat of white paint. I had to put down new baseboards since half of the room didn't have any on account of the cabinets that were installed here. After that, it was just a matter of dragging all of my stuff in here and getting it all set up. Over the course of the last 2 years, I've had so many different setups in here. This desk has been on this wall, on that wall, on the wall behind me. The photo books have been on this wall, now they're over there. My Husky tool chests have rolled over basically every square inch in this room. And that's pretty much how I've always been since I was a kid. It's funny with my brother and I living together again. As a kid, my bedroom, I was this scrawny little kid who was like pushing off of the wall with my feet to try and scoop my bed over and then dragging my dresser over, having to ask my brother for help because he was 4 years older and about 4 times bigger. So now us living together again, it's funny, he'll come in and just kind of sit there in the doorway and look around as I've got everything, moving around and everything sitting in the middle of the floor while I move shelves and everything. And he's just kind of sitting there like, yep, not surprised. But as it is right now, I've got to say, this is probably my favorite setup so far. I can't say that it's permanent, but at least for now, everything the way I have it, I'm pretty happy with it. Right when you walk in, you'll see the Peloton. This is a fairly new addition to the office. We've only had it for a few months. I've been doing that every day just to try and get in better shape, lose a little bit of the excess weight. And with that and eating properly and staying hydrated, it pains me to admit that all of those things do in fact make a difference. I am as shocked as you are. Then we've got one of two Husky chests that I have in here. This is where I have my printer, not my photo printer, just my regular kind of office printer. Mostly it gets used for printing off coloring pages for Elliot, but occasionally it's used for business. I've also got all of my film developing supplies that I keep in here. This has like an extra workspace on this tool chest, so I develop all of my film right here. I've got my Epson V600. It's going on like 12 years that I've had this scanner now, and I really only use it now to scan instant film, but it's still working. Inside this tool chest is where I keep a lot of my paper and just printing supplies or shipping supplies. And when I need to scan my film, this is also where I set up my negative supply kit. Then we get to this desk setup, which I am very happy with how this is all set up. This is where I do all of my work, where I film my YouTube videos. Everything is pretty dialed in and I'm happy with it. So I'm going to be doing a full dedicated video on this particular desk setup and everything that I use. So keep an eye out for that, but very happy to have something like this that's just always set up, ready to go. And anytime I need to sit down and make a video, I basically can just sit down and get started. Behind me, I've got a chair here for anyone who's in the office with me, whether it be Molly or the kids, the animals, or me. If I'm sitting down to go through a photo book, this is kind of the perfect spot with the window right behind me. And then we get to the other Husky tool chest that I have. This is where my Canon Pro 1000 lives. I love this printer. I've done videos on it in the past. If you want to get into printing at home, the Pro 1000, I can't recommend it enough. I've also got my Synology DSM 1522 Plus. What a name. This is a NAS system that has a lot of backups of my physical hard drives or external hard drives. And then the Husky tool chest itself is where I keep all of my photo and video gear. And then we get to all of the photo books. Many, many, many photo books, as well as this coffee table in front that also has a lot of zines and small books and all of my instant film directly underneath that. It's basically overflowing at this point. I should probably have a big book sale at some point, but right now I just keep making as much room as I can. I also have all of my physical negatives, my archive, and the bottom in these Bessler print file archive binders. Everything there is mostly organized, but it could still use some work. And then in the corner, we've got the kennels for the dogs, Taker and Rusey. This is where they sleep, because they are now senior citizens, and if they are left unsupervised for an hour, there's going to be surprises everywhere we look. But they love it in here. It's usually quieter in here. There are less children running around screaming, although that does happen in here as well. This is a nice cozy spot for them. And above their kennels is this side table that I got when I got the desk. And I've used it for a lot of different things over the years, but now I kind of have it set up as this permanent book flip through B-roll workstation. I have this Glide Gear overhead rig permanently screwed into it, so anytime I need to film a flip through of a book or some B-roll of some gear that I'm using, I can just mount my camera directly to this, wheel it over in front of one of these lights or even the window, and it's just always ready to go. There's a theme here. I have everything set up so that there is the least amount of resistance. And that's pretty much the whole office space. I've got plenty of prints and decks on the wall there. These have also been rearranged, so I have little holes that need patched now, and I have a bunch of empty space over here on this wall. That also needs to be filled out at some point, but it's all been a work in progress for the last couple of years. When we first moved in, that first month I spent just getting everything taken out and, renovating the space, fixing up the drywall, getting it ready for me to actually use. And that was on top of moving our entire family into this house. Molly was like 7, 8 months pregnant, I think, at this point. So very busy time, but it's been amazing living here over the last couple of years. And having a space like this, I'm just incredibly fortunate to be able to do this kind of thing. Obviously, this being my job, but having a space like this at home has just been amazing. It isn't permanent though. At some point, I am going to have to leave this space because this room is going to need to be a bedroom for one of the boys. So we have a pole barn that is currently full of everything that my parents owned. And the goal is sometime this year, we can go through everything, make some space, and I'm going to build out a section in the pole barn where my office will be. I've got a lot of ideas for that and how I want to set it up, but it'll be detached from the house. It'll be a little easier to record at times when things aren't as loud in there as they can be inside the house with 3 kids. But hopefully we can at least get that process started this year, and I'm looking forward to that. When that time comes, it'll be fun to document that whole process and share it with you all here. But for now, I am very happy to have this space here. It's been awesome for the last couple of years, and I hope you all enjoyed this little, look behind the scenes and story time with me as I kind of shared why this particular room is so important. The idea of, my mom sitting in here working on scrapbooks, and then years later, I'm in here trying to put together photo books. It's just a special spot for me. So I appreciate you all checking this video out and hanging with me. But that's it for today. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments down below. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.